Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're cracking open one of the most legendary self-help books ever written, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. We're going to zero in on the 3 fundamental techniques for handling people that are, really, the foundation of this entire classic. So, let's dive right in.
So let me ask you, what's the real key to financial success? You'd probably think it's all about what you know, your technical skills, right? Well, get this. Research done by the Carnegie Institute of Technology found something absolutely mind-blowing. It turns out that a tiny 15% of your financial success comes from your technical knowledge, and the other 85%, that massive chunk, comes down to your people skills, your personality, and your ability to lead and deal with people. 85%!
And Carnegie's not talking about some small, little hurdle here. He argues this is probably the biggest challenge you'll ever face. Doesn't matter if you're an engineer, an accountant, or a stay-at-home parent. Getting this one thing right can totally transform your life. So, where do we even begin? Well, interestingly enough, it starts with something we have to stop doing.
And that leads us right into our first big principle. And trust me, it's a game changer. Stop criticizing. Now, I know that sounds maybe a little too simple, but it's a huge shift in how you see the world. Carnegie's whole point is that even when you feel 100% justified, criticism is almost always a losing battle.
But why? I mean, why is something that feels so natural, sometimes even necessary, actually just futile? Before I give you the answer, just think about it for a second. The last time somebody criticized you, how did it really make you feel? Did it honestly fire you up and make you want to change for the better? Probably not. To really hammer this home, Carnegie pulls out this wild, extreme example, Al Capone. Yeah, that Al Capone, America's public enemy #1. If anyone in the world deserved to be criticized and condemned, it was this guy, right? But here's the thing, Capone never saw himself that way, not at all. In his own mind, he was a public benefactor.
Unbelievable, right? He truly saw himself as this misunderstood guy just trying to help people out. And that just shows you something incredible about human nature. 99 times out of 100, people do not criticize themselves for anything, no matter how wrong they may be. So think about it. If Al Capone doesn't blame himself, what chance do you have that the people in your life are going to respond well to your criticism?
So here's the bottom line. Criticism doesn't work because it's a direct attack on a person's pride, on their sense of importance. It wounds them. It immediately puts them on the defensive, makes them justify what they did, and it brews resentment. You see it every day online, in meetings. It almost never leads to real positive change. All it does is create conflict.
You know, even Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest leaders in history, had to learn this lesson the hard way. When he was a young man, he openly made fun of a politician in the local paper. Well, that guy got so furious that he challenged Lincoln to a literal duel to the death with broadswords. Luckily, it was stopped at the very last second, but that experience changed Lincoln forever. From that day on, he almost never criticized anyone for anything ever again.
And that brings us right to the first big rule, the first fundamental technique from Carnegie. It's so simple, but so hard to do. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. It takes real strength of character to understand and forgive instead of blame. But in the end, it's the only thing that actually works. Okay, so if we're not supposed to criticize, what are we supposed to do instead? That's where principle number 2 comes in. And this is all about tapping into what Carnegie says is the deepest, most fundamental craving of human nature, the desire to feel appreciated.
Just look at Charles Schwab. He was one of the first guys in American business to be paid over $1 million a year, which was just an insane amount of money back then. And why? It wasn't because he knew more about steel than anyone else. It was because he was a genius at leading people. And his secret? It was dead simple. He was constantly giving out appreciation and encouragement. He knew that making people feel valued was the key to getting their best work.
Now, Carnegie is super clear about this. We are not talking about cheap, empty flattery. Flattery is fake, it's selfish, it's just saying what you think someone wants to hear, and you know what? People can smell it from a mile away. Real appreciation, on the other hand, that's sincere. It comes from the heart, it's unselfish, and that's what people are starved for. So there it is, our second fundamental rule. It's the other side of the coin to the first one. Instead of looking for what's wrong with people, actively look for something you can honestly and sincerely appreciate. It costs you nothing, but it can unlock so much goodwill and potential in others.
All right, that brings us to our third and final fundamental technique. And this one is the key to actually influencing anybody to do anything. According to Carnegie, there is only one way to do it. You have to get out of your own head. Stop thinking about what you want and start thinking about what they want. Carnegie uses this brilliant, simple analogy. He says, look, personally, I love strawberries and cream. It's my favorite dessert. But for some weird reason, fish prefer worms. So when I go fishing, I don't bait the hook with strawberries and cream. I bait the hook with what the fish wants. It's so obvious, right? But we forget it all the time in our day-to-day lives.
So here's the practical tool, the thing you can start doing today. Before you try to persuade anyone of anything, your kid to clean their room, your boss to approve your project, just stop. Pause for a second and ask yourself this one simple question. Just doing that shifts your whole approach from being about you to being about them.
This is just a perfect example of what not to do. Carnegie shares this sales letter he got that just went on and on and on about what the company wanted, and his reaction, which he scribbled on the letter, is so funny and so true. He just wrote, "Who cares about your company desires? I am worried about my own problems." Isn't that all of us?
And that's the whole point. The only way to get someone to do something is to talk in terms of what they want and show them how to get it. You have to, as Carnegie says, arouse in the other person an eager want. Frame everything in terms of their needs, their benefits, their problems.
So, when you put all this together, what have we got? It's really important to get this next part. Carnegie isn't just giving you a couple of clever social tricks to get your way. What he's really proposing is the foundation for a whole new way of living and interacting with people. So let's just do a quick recap of these 3 fundamental techniques. Number 1, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Number 2, replace all of that with honest and sincere appreciation. And number 3, always think from the other person's point of view and figure out how to arouse in them an eager want. And when you put those 3 things together, you see why this quote from Carnegie is so important. He's saying, look, I am not talking about flattery, not at all. I'm talking about a new way of life. This is about a genuine, deep shift in your attitude. It's about building your life on a foundation of empathy and respect. When you do that, you don't just win friends, you become a better, more effective and happier person. And that really just leaves us with one last question to think about. These ideas, as simple as they sound, have the power to completely transform your relationships at work, at home, everywhere. So the only real question is, whose world will you change by changing your approach first?